Greetings, planty people, and welcome back to my jungle. So today is going to be a lovely long chatty repot, plant chores, plant stuff, and I have a lovely list of questions that you've asked me on Instagram. So I've written them all down here. Let's get started. Also, apologies if you can hear any weird construction sounds. Of course, my neighbours behind me chose today to do their work. And it's also really windy as well, so if you hear there's your answer. So obviously I've got my potting mat ready and I will put it in frame and let's get to business. I love this potting mat so much, just look at that shimmer. It's like it's made out of fairies. So firstly, I'm going to be repotting this lovely neon pothos, Epipremnum neon, that one, because it currently just lives in an empty plastic cup, and as you can tell, she's getting long and luscious. You can see all those gorgeous roots in there. I don't know if you can even see that. I can tell she wants to be bigger, and now is the perfect time. So let's get started. So I actually grew this one from a cutting, which is super exciting. Do you want a root reveal? Yeah, she definitely needed a repot. And while I do that, let's get on to the questions. What's the plant you've had the most issues with? Well, she's right behind me. So this is the Alocasia Frydek, and you may know, I don't know if you do know, but I've tried a few times. I had two from different plant swaps, both in semi-hydro, both just rotted out of nowhere. So that's super fun. I think they just like to be a lot more underwatered than your average Alocasia. I know most of them can be quite rot prone, so that's fun. And I've always, just look at its beauty, it's just so beautiful. And this is my third try. And this time I'm really reducing my watering until I can kind of get a grasp of when it needs to be watered, if that makes sense. And also they can get spider mites pretty easily. And considering I have a lot of velvety plants, ooh, flypaper just fell down. It's probably in the cards for this, so I always use my bug spray on it. This one is the best one I've used, and it's the Baby Bio Houseplant Bug Killer Ultra. Just make sure you open a window when you use it. It's a bit heavy duty, but it works. All right, let's get the Soil Ninja out. So this is just the base mix. I think I added some leca in there, but just I had some extra. This is the pot it was in before. I think I might go that size. You don't want to upsize too quickly, but at the same time, I might even go big. Yeah, I might go bigger. There. So I'm gonna use the pre-existing soil from this little pile here. Put some in the bottom like I usually do, about 1 centimetre. Put you in. And then I'm gonna I'll use this to scoop. But yeah, I've had that issue with quite a few Alocasia actually, because you may know I can be a tinsy bit of an overwaterer. Well, at least I used to be. I've had to kind of brainwash it out of myself. I just get too excited. But now it's all about intuition. When people ask how often do you water a plant, I can give you a rough answer, but also it depends on how warm your house is, how much light it gets, what soil you have, and what plant it is. Do you know what I mean? But with Alocasia, definitely I'm going to reduce. It's weird though, because I was actually taught that they're quite thirsty. Not at all. Because they've got such a big bulb at the base, it's like a big rhizome-y thing. It holds enough water as it is anyway, so you don't really need to. And that was from my lovely friend Cindy. What's a plant that you want to get within the next few months? Now that is a tricky question because I have a whole massive list, but also I'm on a low buy. But if I had to choose one, it would definitely be, I think, a scissors discolor. It's always really hard to say scissors discolor because it's such a unique plant. And it's a climber, and I love climbing plants. Stick it on a moss pole, get those massive leaves, and I just love the colour of it. And it's just nothing like any other plant I have. So let me know if you know a good place to get them where they're not too expensive. I think I mentioned I had a cutting of it a while ago, but it dried out when I was on holiday. So I'm going to put it on this dish that I'm going to put water in to bottom water it. This is just a Ferrero Rocher dish. Fancy. Next, let's revamp this, my pride and joy. Ta-da! So this is the most beautiful begonia, and it's Begonia Benigo, also known as, I think, pink begonia. And I got this a few years ago, I think, as a one-leaf cutting, believe it or not. Begonia I found are quite easy to propagate as long as you let the wound at the bottom properly kind of dry. Otherwise they rot quite easily, which is annoying. But I think what I'm going to do, I need to get some scissors. Bear with. My lovely friend Pippa, I said I was going to give her a piece of this as it's beautiful. But first I'm going to trim some of the old leaves off. So don't worry if some of the bottom leaves start to wilt. It's quite common for that to happen when it's getting bigger because it's putting all the energy upwards, if that makes sense. So don't panic. It happens. It's all good. And I made this trellis years ago. I think it was in lockdown. I was just like, I'm gonna make a trellis. And I just got some random bamboo sticks and tied it together, and it's this shape. And it works wonders. Like, look how big it's gotten. Pulling all the leaves off. Should we do another question? Keeping a Calathea alive. Okay, well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not a pro. I only have 2 Calathea. I have a few Maranta. Maranta I get much better on with. I don't know why they're easier, in my opinion. I found them to be less thirsty, but I'll show you one of the only ones I have. Da-da-da. So this is Calathea Network. Oh, she's dusty. She needs some TLC. So this one, it's got those gorgeous kind of trippy patterns on. And this one I found to be one of the easiest ones because it's got much thicker leaves, but she's definitely thirsty, which is why you get these little crispy tips sometimes. I mean, it has been quite warm in here, so that's probably a factor as well. I found give it a really, really chunky soil because they like to drink water, but they also don't like to sit in it, which is a little bit annoying to keep on top of. But this one I found is a lot more durable than the others, like the pinstripe ornata, medallion. All those really thin leaves can crisp up so quickly indeed. So definitely get one of these ones, much easier. And I give it kind of like a medium to bright light, more than you think you would, because I know they live on the forest floor. So it's good to replicate where they came from and how they live. But I found this one, because it's got thicker leaves, it can handle a bit more light. And as you can see, look at all those new shoots. So yeah, definitely give it a medium to bright and you'll be fine. And don't underwater it. Just water it when it's dry, basically. I hope that helps because I've killed a few. I also have the velvety one here. She had a bit of spider mite issue, completely just like sprayed the spray all over it, and she seems to be recovering, so I'm not too worried. And I sprayed every other plant just in case. Yeah, I wish I could get on better with Calathea, but also at the same time I don't really have the room for them because they're quite bushy plants, aren't they? So I think I'm gonna chop off this bit as it kind of is coming off the side. Now the good thing with Begonia, you don't really necessarily need to cut in a specific spot. I like to cut just below a node, let it dry, cut some of the bottom leaves off and put it in water. That's the kind of the best way I've found personally. Keep it in a nice bright spot as well. These guys love the sun. So I'm going to chop some of those bottom leaves off, because if that's in water that will just rot, and you don't want rot. You don't want rot. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? Anyway, that's going to my lovely friend Pippa. Pop you over there. And I'm going to... what shall I do? As you can see here, it's quite tall. I might just... I don't know actually. I think I'm going to wrap it round and put the clip on. because I don't mind that it's kind of outgrown the trellis. As long as the most of it's supported, it's fine. And yes, I think I might put one in the middle as well. And I think I'm also going to top the soil up a little bit because it's kind of shrunk a bit. Do you ever find that happening? It's just like, where did you go? Where did my magic cup go? Ah, she's there. So Begonia, I know a lot of people struggle with. Same with Calathea actually, prayer plants. These guys love the sun. So bright indirect is perfect. And they're quite thirsty indeed. So you can kind of feel it in the leaves. This one's a bit thirsty. They feel a lot floppier and they start to kind of yellow a little bit. That's how you know it's thirsty. And I think last year this one actually flowered for me, so that was exciting. There was like cute little whitish yellow flowers. So pretty. Ta-da! Beautiful. That already looks a lot neater. Next question isn't really a question, it's just like a suggestion. Talk to me about alocasia corms. Of course. Let me go grab some. Okay, so I've done of Hoya in there. I've done a lot of experimenting with alocasia corms as it makes me feel like a mad scientist and it's great fun. And I found the best way is to, once you've found said corm, peel a little bit of the husk off if you can. Try not to damage it because it will make a little wound and it will rot very quickly. So if you do make a little dent in it by accident, let it dry. Then get yourself, obviously, a clean, clear pot, jar, whatever you have. Put a drop of water, just so it's kind of not wet, but just, you know, like a drop, and then a little drop of fertiliser. And I literally just put them in there. Not too many, don't want overflowing, literally just a few in the bottom. Cover the lid so it stays nice and warm. And I put it in a bright spot, so I keep mine in my grow box. It's just a big clear tub and the sun hits it, so it's perfect. It gets nice and warm and humid in there. Some people say it's better to have them in the dark, but I tried that and it didn't germinate as quick, so I personally just put it in my grow box. And then once they get tiny little roots, they'll start to sprout like this. And in here, it's just a mixture of moss, perlite, and I think some semi-hydro. And you'll get tiny little babies. And it's super fun, super cute. But I wouldn't transplant them into semi-hydro mix, substrate, whatever you have, until they've got roots about this big and they start to push out a leaf. Otherwise, it might shock it and it might rot. Learn from past experience. So yeah, once it gets a bit bigger, I'd say a little bit bigger than that, you can put it in its own little semi-hydro mix. So in here is leca, perlite, bit of moss. It's honestly a cocktail at this point. And this one is a gorgeous pink dragon alocasia, and it's got that gorgeous kind of lining on the stem, and this will just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm thinking of just keeping all my alocasia in semi-hydro at this point because soil can be way too rich for them, I found. So that was really satisfying. Yes, just experiment, have a play, try different substrates, different temperatures, and see what happens really. It's all, my experience may be different to yours. That's totally cool. Okay, so next I have some Hoya propagations, and this one I think is Propagating. Not sure what type, it's got a slight splash to it, and it's already rooted, but as it's quite a big piece, I just chucked it in my prop box. I'm gonna chop little segments and then plant it in one of these. And while I do that, let's do a question. Favourite plant, oh, my hair was in a plant. Favourite plant to recommend for a beginner, and why? I mean, you really can't go wrong with a pothos or any kind of vining philodendron. They both have very similar care, maybe even the same. Minimal watering, kind of flexible with the amount of light you give it. Obviously it's optimal to give it a bright to medium, but they can handle a slightly lower. It will grow slower, just bear that in mind. But it's, you know, really low care, and they grow super quick, which is super rewarding and it makes you feel really good. Don't laugh when the soil around goes everywhere. Also, any kind of monstera. Maybe not Thai because they're really slow and they're a tad expensive, and if you're starting out you might not want to spend too much. I was like that, valid. Just the classic Monstera deliciosa, really good one to start with because they're cheap, they're everywhere, and they're super easy. And they can get really, really big if you take care of it correctly, which isn't hard to do. So that's always a good thing about the Monstera. Where's my scissors? I found her. Monstera adansonii, so that's the one with, instead of having the fenestrations like this, it has more little circles. Those are faster growing than the classic deliciosa, so that's a really good one to have. So I'm going to chop these into little sections. And all of the ones I just suggested are very easy to find, so you don't need to go on a proper hunt for them. I mean, it's always worth to double check your local Facebook group for plant swaps because people literally give plants away at this point. Right, pour some in. Because they're not fully, they're rooted a little bit, I'm gonna literally just put them on top and do a light dusting of soil on top. So, put you in there. What plants are good for bathrooms? Excellent question. I love getting this question because it's actually really easy. Any plant that is from the jungle will love it. So if it's a desert plant, like for example snake plant or ZZ plant, probably not. Might be too wet and you will maybe experience some rot and it might discourage you a bit. But any kind of plant that loves humidity, for example, literally anything behind me. Or another popular ones to have in bathrooms are ferns. Just make sure that you maybe mix some moss into the fern soil mix because they're very thirsty. Or even just have it in a non-drainage pot. That's what I'm currently doing, experimenting with, and it seems to be loving it. Got a huge staghorn fern kind of on top of the cabinet in the bathroom, and it just kind of does this little thing. Also another one I have in there that I basically don't do anything to, surprisingly, is Tenanthe. So that's one of the prayer plants. I think it's the Bulmarks something, and I've had that since the beginning of my plant journey, so that's ages ago. And I, no word of a lie, water it every like 3 weeks, and it's in a terracotta pot. I know, I should probably change that, but it's fine. It even flowered for me once. And it just happily lives there in a corner, so it's still bright, but it's not direct, and it has a great time. And I guess you don't have to water it as much because the humidity kind of gets sucked up into the soil, so that's super fun. I also have some carnivorous plants in my bathroom on the windowsill, all together, just in a big clear orchid pot, just living their little best lives. And it's a frosted window, so it's still bright, but it's not like, because I know a lot of people have frosted windows. That's kind of perfect. It kind of filters the harsh rays out. So yeah, basically anything that likes humidity. Just Google if it likes humid. There you go, there's your answer. Look at her. I probably will end up giving this one to Pippa as well because she is a flower queen and Hoya flower. Oh, that reminds me actually, I'll give you a Hoya update. So, you may have seen that my Hoya Bella has been flowering like crazy. I've attempted to pollinate her. Don't know how it's going to go because it's very fiddly. You have to kind of dig in with like a pin or a toothpick and get the little pollen beads out and then kind of put it on the middle, the stamen is it called? And whoa, that was fiddly, I'll tell you that. So if it works, I'll let you know. But my Hoya Crinkle 8 and my Hoya Kerrii are both putting out a big peduncle. I love that word. And it seems to be flowering at the same time. So if the Hoya Bella was successful with the propagation, pollination, I may attempt to cross-pollinate. Mad scientist vibes. So we'll see how that goes. And obviously I will keep you very much in the loop. So I'm just using some really, really, really chunky soil. And there's a bit of grit in here as well. And I'm literally just gonna, I've chopped up the Hoya linearis into kind of pieces where there's a root, and I'm literally just gonna plant it in there. That's a good thing with Hoya, they're quite easy to propagate. You can either put them in water. I know I probably shouldn't because I don't like the humid as much, but I just chuck it in my grow box and lie them on top of the moss and you get roots. So, or you can literally just chop and plant them straight in the soil. But I like to see a root first personally. But you do you, boo. Have an experiment, have fun. Next question. Next one. Dream plant that I really, really, really want. Oh, I did a whole video on this. Oh, Syngonium chiapense variegata. So this one, this big paddle leafy one here, variegated. Beautiful. I know they're not like massively expensive, but they're still too expensive for me to even think about buying. So that's one I really, 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 really want. Look at that. That looks like grass. Okay, so I think that's it for repotting. Let me see. I might just chop some propagations because I've still got more questions to go. I might just give you some updates as well. Plant that you haven't grown successfully. Well, obviously, string of pearls. Me and that plant have beef. Alocasia poly, aka Amazonica. I mean, bear in mind, this is when I was an overwaterer, so we all know the answer why it didn't survive. Thrice. I'll have an alocasia thrice, please. And yeah, but as you can see, this one is an alocasia, and this is the Ontoro, so it's the fluffy one. I just love the dark colour of it, and it's putting out new leaf. I've been keeping an eye on it. I only water it when it's dry, and it seems to be doing something, so. And I keep it in a little pumpkin candle holder because it looks really cool. My Begonia ferox is doing well. Oh, it feels so weird. It's like spiky. I was a little bit worried about that one because people were saying it's a terrarium plant. Because this room is the attic, so warm. And I've got the window closed as well, so I'm a bit... So nice and humid in here. Before my humidity meter broke, it said it was average about 70 in here. Obviously, I do open the windows every so often to get some airflow in. Have you named any plants? And this one's from Lottie. And she also said, wife me, please. Sorry, honey. I'm taken. Of course I name them. Obviously, I don't name all of them because I don't think I have the brain space for that all the time. But for example, you know what? I haven't named my tie yet. I think I asked you. No, I named my Monstera Esqueleto Skeletor, was it? Yeah, I think one of you suggested that and I love it. Skeletor. Oh my god, my hair is getting so sweaty. I need some dry shampoo. Stat. I've named my Monstera Albo Valerie. Valerie the variegated Monstera. My Crystallinum Crystal. Don't know what to call the fried egg. I might just call it fried egg. I only name a few of them when they tell me their name. Ooh. And last question, what's a plant that you don't think's worth the hype? My Philodendron White Knight, because this is so annoying to grow. So it's got this really weird growth pattern. I mean, it looks okay, but what is with this? What is with this? I mean, I get variegation, I give it bright light, but then, I don't know. And it's such a slow grower as well. I'm just kind of holding on to it to see if it will do anything. Not much has happened, but I still like it. I just think, tad overrated in my opinion. Same goes for Pink Princess. Ugh. And I really wanted to like the Pink Princess because I like pink, as you can see. A plant that's underrated that I would always recommend. Well, I've said this one a lot of times. Chiapense, just a regular one. If you can get your hands on it, it's not too expensive. Of course, so easy. It's like a philodendron syngonium cross. Or, actually, it's another syngonium. The syngonium tri-leaf, super philodendron-like. Really cheap to get a hold of, and it propagates like a dream, like an absolute dream. I had to chop it back though, got really bad thrips. So it's currently back there in a little box. I think that's everything. I'm going to now do the big dreaded tidy. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'm trying to do more longer videos, but now I've just realised I've talked so much. This is going to be a nightmare to edit. Yeah, so if you need a 10% off Grow Gang, I have a lovely code I will leave down below. I'll leave all my social medias down below. Let me know if you've got any questions, suggestions, or you just want to say hi and talk about plants. I'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely day, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Bye-bye.